you are an entrepreneur, a professional, a speaker, or a coach, and although you've come a long way, it's time for you to take it to the next level. We've got you. This is the Author to Authority podcast. We'll help you use authority and influencer marketing to build your business stronger and faster by publishing a book. You'll hear from guests that are thought leaders in sales, marketing, networking, communication, social media, promotion, and business leadership. Let's do it. This is the Author to Authority podcast. And now your host, the extraordinary word ninja, Kim Thompson-Pinder.
Welcome to the Author to Authority podcast. And today we're going to talk about branding, but we're going to talk about it from a unique perspective. Because if you are a solopreneur or a consultant, a professional, you are still the CEO of your company, and you need to think of branding in that way. Amanda, welcome to the show. Amanda is a brand strategist and designer that partners with serial entrepreneurs, freedom seekers, and multi-passionate empire builders, love that, delicious words, to craft branding that feels right, works hard, and looks awesome. She brings a holistic, structured approach to branding that helps you make your next level of business the best one yet. And she has over 17 years of experience across a wide range of industries and clientele. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me, Kim.
So I always love getting into it right away. So Let me just ask you straight out, like, why do you need to approach branding like a CEO?
Yes. So to sum it up, basically, like the only way your business will grow to the next level, beyond you, to scale, ever, is you have to think of it as its own entity. Right? It's not just you, even if you're a solopreneur or service provider or consultant, like you said, you have to think of it as its own creature. And the way to do that is to approach it like a CEO. Okay. Instead of saying, what do I want to do? I mean, that's still part of it because you're steering the business. You kind of shift your frame set to what is good for my business. What is the direction I want for my business? And so, the first step with that is being intentional, like actually sitting down and thinking about some of this. Because I know so many people, when they get into business, even if they're several years in and like running a team and everything, they're so busy in the day-to-day, just trying to get that business up and running, keep it running, handing off things that come up, like just get this done so we can get it out, kind of frantic, existence. They don't necessarily stop and take the time to think, what is it that I'm actually building here? What is this business that I'm trying to build, other than just, I need a way to make money and this is my business and that's what I'm doing. But like, what is the long-term goal? What is the vision for it? Yeah. And I feel a lot of people just kind of skip over that step just in the logistics of getting a business up and running. But once you do that, once you sit down and like figure out what it is you want this business to be, that's actually so clarifying, because then, when you come to decisions in your business, whether it's design direction, messaging and copy, partnerships or opportunities that come up, publicity opportunities or things like that, you have some guidelines. You can say, okay, does this fit with the vision I wanted for my company? Is this a good client given what I said I wanted to build? Is this a good service I should explore offering based on what I said I wanted to build? Is this ad or blog post or email or whatever I'm putting out, is that communicating in a way that supports the business I want to build? So it's about, being intentional with shaping it. And then the other part of it, which I know is really hard for solopreneurs, is to put some distance. Like I said before, it's not only based on your own personal preferences, basically. Like if your favorite color is orange, that's great. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the best fit for your business. So it's taking a more strategic approach to it. Saying, does this work for the industry I'm in? And does it work for the clientele I want to serve? Does it work for the vibe I want to give off? Instead of just like, oh, well, this is my favorite color. I like this font. It looks good. And, throwing it up. But I know a lot of people do that starting off, and that's fine. But like when you're ready to kind of up level, to be more strategic and intentional about it, you got to put some distance between yourself as a person and your business as its own thing that is growing.
Wow, you unpacked a lot there in that very short space of time. One of the things that I think of and in terms of branding is it's not only just about the colors and the logo and everything else. You talked about, the brand and, what the company stands for. And I think, entrepreneurs think they don't have time to brand, but I have found that when you take the time to brand properly, and that includes marketing, sales, like it's all of these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
It actually helps you build your business faster.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like once you have that clear brand, those guidelines of like, this is what my business is, this is what it's not, you don't have to filter through so many options. It just eliminates some options completely. So it kind of streamlines things. And I want to kind of caveat off of something you said, like, I don't have time to brand. Well, you have a brand, whether you're the one actively building it or not, because a brand, essentially is the impression that people have of your business. So if you're not intentionally, strategically shaping that, you're kind of missing out on some big opportunities.
Well, and the thing is that if you're not intentionally shaping it, you have no idea what people are thinking about your business.
Yes.
Whether good or bad. And
exactly. Yeah. And if your brand is a hodgepodge mishmash, yeah, they could just be confused, which is not the feeling you want to inspire in clients and potential clients. So
the other thing I found too is that when you are well branded, it gives off that professional feel. This is the Author to Authority podcast. So we talk about, being that authority. So if you want to be seen as that authority, you have to look like an authority.
Yes.
And, having that brand design is a part of that, is a part of it. Now, I mean, there's always also other pieces like, not only do you have to look it, but you have to speak it.
You have to back it up.
Communicate it well. There's other things. But, if someone goes to your website and you've used this template, this Miss Podge template, that's not going to give a professional feeling. Whereas if you have, a well-designed brand, who your target market is, because that's part of the branding. It's part of the marketing. I mean, all of these things you're talking about aren't just branding. It's part of the foundation of the business.
Yeah.
It affects your marketing. It affects your sales. It affects your content. It affects your social media. So, having
the choir here.
Having this strong brand or, your marketing setup or whatever term you want to use, because there's lots of different terms for it.
There's overlap. Yeah.
Yeah. These things are foundational pieces. The way I describe it is, if you have to, because you're trying to market to everyone or brand to everyone or talk to everyone, if you have to talk to 100 people to get that one really good client, well, when you're branded, you may only have to talk to 5, maybe 10 people to find that really good client. Yeah. So ultimately you build your business faster because you basically get rid of all of the people
they
who are not your perfect target market.
Yeah, they self-filter out. It filters out the ones you don't want to work with. But yeah, back to what you said a little bit ago, like having that professional brand or having, an actual brand gives you that professional look, I think, in part because it shows that you care about your business. It shows you put time and effort into it. And so that, I think, unconsciously carries over into potential clients' minds saying, okay, well, they can take care. They're taking care of their own business really well. I bet they'll take care of mine too. So I think that's an aspect of it that people don't necessarily think about. It shows that you're invested in it. It shows that you're serious and that you are willing to put time and effort into it.
And I think the other thing too is when you are well branded and you really know who your target market is, then everything you do really speaks to them and it attracts them.
Yeah.
If you want to be, one thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is if you want to be seen as a thought leader, some of the best thought leaders that I've learned from or, watched or heard they spent more time explaining my problem to me and diving deep and actually getting down to the real, true problem. And yeah, they provided some of the solution for it. honest, once I really knew what the problem was, that was the aha moment. The solution wasn't the aha moment. It was the fact that this person understood who I was and what I was going through. I could finally explain my real problem.
Yes, that is a big component of it. And that's where like the brand strategy side of things come in. Because if you understand where the gaps are in your brand or in your target market or any of that, like you can strategize on how to fix that. You can strategize on how to be intentional about making sure people understand that. So yeah, absolutely agree with what you said.
And there was something that you said there that I just want to highlight for a second is, many times you can't figure these things out on your own. I just spent, this is being aired in December. I just spent the whole summer and the fall working with specialists to help me develop out new things, audience. And the ad that you'll listen to in a moment will share one of the new things for you. But I just spent, the summer working with 4 specialists to help determine some things in my business because I could not see the forest for the trees.
Yes, sometimes we are too close to it ourselves. And sometimes if it's not your area, you don't necessarily know what questions to ask to get you to the clarity.
My problem was I actually knew. I mean, I've studied marketing and sales and funnels and everything for probably, at least good 10, 15 years. But when you have to apply it to your own business, there's a difference.
It is so hard to do the things we do for our own businesses. Yeah, I know that I relate to that.
So we are going to take a quick 15 to 17 second break here, and I'm going to be sharing it with you one of the free resources that is going to help you create and scale your book that turns readers into clients and will help you to accelerate your business faster.
One of the keys to becoming an author is hiring the right publisher. It's the difference between having a book that converts readers into clients and one that sits unused on a shelf. Check out 7 questions to ask before hiring a publisher. Get it free at authortoauthority.com/publisher.
Welcome back. Amanda, I've been loving this conversation. I would love to shift gears a little bit here and just highlight you a little bit more. Can you share more? Like, how did you, become a brand designer and strategist?
Yeah. Well, if you'd asked me 20 years ago if this is what I would be doing, I would not have guessed it.
Me neither.
Yeah, right. So I've had my fingers in the creative arts for like as long as I can remember, like way back to childhood. And then computers came on the scene when I was in middle school. And in high school, my art teacher introduced me to Photoshop, and that kind of like blew my mind wide open. I was like, I can do like art stuff and computer stuff at the same time, and it's called design, and this is like a thing I can do. So then my path was kind of set from there. I went to college for design. That's what my degree is in. And when I graduated, I intended to get, a job in-house somewhere at an agency, something like that. The thought of being independent, self-employed, owning my own business had never crossed my mind, like zero business training or know-how. But I moved from Ohio at the time for college, and I moved down to Austin, and I was doing the job search thing. And I had a friend that was a freelance web developer at the time. And he's like, well, why don't you just take on some freelance design gigs just to have some income while you're doing the job search? So I did that off of Craigslist back in the day. And those ended up working out so well, like they became repeat clients. And I was like, I don't have to commute anywhere. I can just like walk like 5 steps from my kitchen. Like I just kind of loved the freedom and flexibility of it. And was like, I'm just going to do this. So I kind of dove into that. And when I talk about making that shift from, just having a business to like really thinking of it with a CIO mindset, I had to go through that myself. Cause like for the first several years of me being a freelancer, I was kind of just taking whatever came my way. Didn't really have like a niche or an ideal client or anything like that. And eventually I got sick of that.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah. And I was also getting married. So my name was changing. So I kind of used that as the kick in the butt to like put on my CEO pants, my big girl pants, and like treat this like actual business. So that's how Studio Gracio was born. And that was in 2015. And since then, I've been specializing in branding because I've seen how powerful it can be, how much it helps my clients. It's what I love to do and what I'm good at. So that is just what has been my focus, just trying all sorts of things and realizing like, this is what I like. So.
I love it. What you just said there, trying all these things and seeing what you like.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I think as entrepreneurs, we're given the false impression that the first business has to be the one that actually works.
Yeah. No. I mean, what is entrepreneurship if not just like one big experiment, right?
Mm-hmm.
See what works, see what you like, see what takes off. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is like, I did several businesses over the years before I got into publishing. I was in network marketing for quite a few of those years and a few different companies there. And, I don't see any of those as failures, even though I never really was able to do much with those. But each one taught me something that prepared me for when I started RTI Publishing.
Mm-hmm.
And I can look back and, I can actually, won't take the time for the show, but I can actually look back and say, okay, here was a change point. Here was a change
Mm-hmm.
point. Here was something that, radically changed my mindset, my point of view. And then even, the last 8 years since I started ghostwriting in 2015, just to earn some extra money, even through that, I can walk you through step by step through some of the stages that I've gone through, that has brought me to where I am today. And as much as the journey hasn't always been very fun, I tell you that end of last quarter of 2019 going into 2020 was not a fun time for me. Actually, I was debating whether I closed the business because I hit Christmas. I had just enough money in the bank to pay my freelancers and give them a small Christmas bonus, and I had nothing left in the business. And I had no sales coming in January. It's been one of those years. And, really thankful to God because he just said, Kim, just have hope. 2020 is going to be better. Now, I know for many
the pandemic hit. Sorry.
The funny thing about 2020 was that, I have a 90-day sales cycle. So generally from the time I start generating leads, it takes about 90 days before I really start to see, business coming in. So I went into 2020 January. Okay, it's going to take me about 3 months. Thankfully, my husband worked. He had a really decent job. So, it wasn't like we were going to lose the house or, I was going to end up on the streets or there wasn't going to be food in the house, but there wasn't a lot of money for anything else.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's what my business brought in, the money for the extra things. But I was like, okay. And then March hit and I was starting to see a little bit of business coming in. But by April, when everything shut down, all of a sudden my business exploded. Why? Because one of the reasons why people didn't do books is because they didn't have time. Now they're locked down with nothing else to do. And my phone's ringing off the hook going, Kim, I'm ready to do my book now.
It's so funny you say that. I know like some industries were hit really hard with the pandemic, like photographer friends, restaurants, obviously that kind of thing. But like I had experienced the same thing. My business had a big boom in 2020 and 2021 because everything was shut down and people realized, oh, how I present myself online is really important. I should maybe actually have some branding or have a website that I'm not embarrassed to send people to and like all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I understand that. I had the same thing.
It's funny because it just, for some people, it was so horrible. But because of what I went through in 2019, I could in a sense, minister or have empathy for those who were going through it because, December 25th, I was sitting with an empty bank account, right? So I understood where people were. And I think all of these experiences just make for what I do now even more effective.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the whole point, like of learning from your life as you go, right? It's not even things that are classified as a failure. It's like, well, what did you learn? Like, how did it get you? Even with that, would you be on the path you are now without that? It has a purpose.
So we got about 10 minutes left, Amanda, and I'd love to give you an opportunity to let you loose. And I know you've come prepared with, we've took a general overview about, branding as a CEO, but I know you've come prepared with some teaching and some training with us. So I'm going to let you go for a few minutes just to share what you have for us today.
Yeah. Okay. So first step to approaching branding like a CEO is to understand it's not just the visuals. I know we touched on this a little bit earlier, but I'm going to unpack that a little bit. If you think of like your branding like a pyramid, right? The very bottom layer, the base of it is what I call your core brand, the intangible stuff, like your vision, your mission, your vibe, your ideal client, like what makes you different, all of that kind of stuff. And that's the part where you sit down and get intentional and strategic about figuring all that out. The next layer is the visual. So this is what people usually think of as branding. This is your logo, your colors, your fonts, your website, like all the things people see, right?
Yeah.
The layer after that, and this is where you come in, Kim, is the verbal. So this is all your copy, how you speak, how you write, everything that is in words is that layer. And sometimes people stop there. They don't realize that there's more to the branding pyramid, but there's actually two more layers. The next one after that is the experiential. So that is experience you actually provide to your clients or customers, from onboarding or purchase through like troubleshooting, offboarding, like the actual delivery of your service, all of that is also part of your branding. And then the very tip top of the brand pyramid is reputation. So this is what people think of you who have never worked directly with you. They'll look at reviews. It's just the feeling they get from your social media, like all that kind of thing, just indirect experience of you. So all of that together is your brand. So to really be intentional with building your business as you want as a CEO, you have to take into account all of those different layers, and they build on one another. That's why I say start at the bottom with, your core brand, figuring out what you want this business to be, and that'll help you shape all your other decisions.
Yeah. That is good stuff. Okay, let's go through those again. Let's dive a little deeper.
Okay.
Because you rhymed them off, and I was like, oh man, I can't write these down. And it's one of those days where the menopause memory is just not working as well as it should today. So
okay. First layer is the intangible, your core brand. So your goals and vision for the business, why you're even in this business, who you want to work with, what you want to stand for, how you're different, the vibe you want to give off, all those kind of core questions. And I'll talk a little bit later. I have a resource for people to help figure all that out if they need. That's always the first step. You need to figure all that out before you can start building anything else intentionally. So once you have an idea of that, especially like the vibe and what you're trying to communicate, that can help guide the next level, the visual. So that's everything you see, again, like your logo, your color palette, your fonts, everything that you have designed, print, web, whatever, social media templates. So, the colors you choose should help convey some of the qualities or personality types that you want your business to give off, right? So, if you are a fast, upbeat, urgent kind of business, you're not going to use like a calm blue in your color palette. You're going to want like, a bright red, punchy orange, something like that, and that's kind of a surface level read of that. But like, that's part of what a designer's job is too, to help you match up those intangible ideas with visuals that help communicate them.
So I'm actually going to stop you there because I actually had a color specialist on the show one day.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
And we spent the whole episode talking about colors and how people perceive colors and why
psychology is fabulous. I love it.
Choose all these colors. I loved the conversation because most people don't realize the effect that color has on you and the immediate subconscious thoughts that you have when you see specific colors. And it's actually tied to emotion
and culture, like some
memory.
Cultures have different like meanings for colors. It's fascinating. Like, we could. I'm not surprised you've done a whole episode on that.
Like talk about that in Canada, in the US, red and white are important colors. Now you guys add blue to it. We just the red and white here in Canada. You guys add blue. But as a Canadian, when you see red and white, that represents Canada.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, color psychology is a huge part of picking colors for your brands or having a designer help you do that. You also have to take into account, the rest of your field. Like you don't want to pick something that is exactly like what somebody else is doing. So there's some, awareness you have to have as a CEO there to like, okay, what is my competition doing? What is the rest of my field doing? How can I stand out, but still convey what I want to convey? And then we get to the verbal level. That's level number 3. And this is mostly, you hear this called like brand voice or brand tone or even brand personality sometimes. And this is about making sure the way you talk, the way you communicate, whether it's in emails, on your website, in social captions, on the phone, if you're answering phones, on calls, speaking appearances, making sure that is all consistent with what you're trying to communicate about your brand. So if your brand is, easygoing, friendly, approachable stuff, you don't want to use a lot of formal language. You're not going to very uptight, like formal sir, madam kind of thing. Like it's just going to be a mismatch. So it's just having some awareness and intention with that level too.
I'm going to stop you there because I think it even goes beyond that. One of the things that we work on in RTI Publishing is how do you communicate what you do in such a way that it attracts your perfect target market. Now, you don't start with that. You've got to do all of those other layers. Now, maybe not the color layer, that doesn't affect communication as much, but definitely that first layer that you talked about is crucial to have, because how do you speak to your perfect target market if you don't know who they are?
Mm-hmm. And how can you convince them to choose you if you don't know what makes you different or what you offer or what you stand for? Yeah.
But when you have those things in place and then you communicate it, whether it be on social media, whether it be on videos, whether it be speaking gigs, whether it be in your book, when you have that effective message, you use it everywhere.
Yeah.
You use it at network meetings when you introduce yourself. The funny thing is when, I challenge some of my clients to be able to either explain their book or explain their business in less than a minute.
That's surprisingly hard sometimes.
Well, the thing is you want to be able to answer 3 questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who do you serve? So that varies, specific without getting too long. Who do you serve? How do you serve them? What is your unique way of serving people that brings transformation?
Mm-hmm.
And then who are you in relationship to those first 2, right? There's a reason why I called myself the extraordinary word ninja. It's actually part of the branding. It's part of my personal branding as the CEO of RTI Publishing.
Yeah.
I can say I'm a word ninja. I have personally written over 150 books and worked on over 200. I am a word ninja.
And it's fun. That helps convey some of your personality, some of what people can expect working with you. So it's doing its job.
Okay, so we've got a couple of more layers there and we got a couple more minutes left.
Yeah, so we had intangible, visual, verbal. Next one is experiential. So again, this is the actual experience you provide to clients. And this is basically making sure that the experience you provide lives up to the expectations you set up with all those other layers. Like if one of the things you want to be known for and that's important to you is high quality work or reliability or something like that, you need to deliver on it. You need to keep that brand promise, right? Mm-hmm. And that is, everybody from people who are actually paying clients to sales calls that don't end up booking to people you meet at networking events. Like the experience people have with your brand directly should help support all of the things you want your brand to stand for and communicate. And even, for paid clients, after the project is done, how do you maintain that relationship with your brand? Like, what do you do after that supports your brand vision and your brand promise? And I think sometimes people don't necessarily think about that. They think about it like, okay, sign them, do the thing, done. But it's more comprehensive than that. It lasts longer than that. And then the last the pyramid is reputational. And this one, you don't really have any direct control over. But if you've got that clear core brand, you've built out your visuals and your verbals to support that, and you provide a good experience with all other 4 layers, then your reputation will take care of itself. Like, you'll build a reputation that you want, that you're proud of, that is accurate to what you're trying to build. And one more note on that is, if for some reason you do get a bad review or a bad press coverage or something, how you respond to that is also part of your brand. So you want to make sure any response you have to, things that come up is still in line with what you're trying to build.
I couldn't agree with you more. And sometimes the best way to deal with a negative review is not to deal with it at all.
Yeah. I mean, again, this comes back to having some self-awareness as a CEO. Like, is there any merit to this critique? If not, ignore it, go anyway. If there is, then address it or fix it or whatever. But, there's some things that just happen, like packages get lost in the mail, electricity or internet is down or whatever, things happen. And sometimes people are just cranky. So like, maybe it's not anything you or your business actually did, but, kind of weigh it with
some haters.
Yeah.
And, haters will actively promote against you. And I've learned that with haters, don't play their game. They want you to react.
Oh, they're trying to get something out of you. Yeah.
Because they're better at this than you are.
What's the saying? Like, don't engage with the level of stupidity. They'll beat you at their own game. Something like that.
I love that. I've never heard that said that way before. Love it. Say that again, because I think I was laughing.
I don't think I'm saying it right. It's like something like don't engage with stupid at their level, because they'll beat you with more experience or something along those lines. I'd have to look up the exact quote, but yeah.
Amanda, I have loved today's conversation. We have time for you to give one final thought, and then if people have enjoyed this conversation, how can they connect with you?
Yeah. So my one final thought is, if you do nothing else for your business, stop, pause, take the time to figure out your core brand. All those questions we've talked about several times during this episode, those intangibles, the things that guide you, take the time to get clear on those, write them down somewhere, get them out of your head and on paper. You'll find that so useful as an exercise, I think. I do have a resource that helps with that. It's a free download called Branding Brainstorm. As basically all the questions I walk my clients through in the brand strategy phase. You just go to Guerassio/branding-brainstorm, and you can get it there. Otherwise, you can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I play around most days, social media-wise. And then my website, of course, is a great way to get in touch with me too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amanda. If you've enjoyed today's video, I highly suggest you go back, scan back a few episodes to episode 434. How you can use a brand video to build trust. If you are on YouTube, you will see the thumbnail here somewhere that you can click on. If you're on your podcast app, just, take the finger and just move it back a bit. And that video will build on what you have learned today. Audience, thank you so much for listening. And we will see you on the very next episode. Bye now.
You've been listening to the Author to Authority podcast. The extraordinary word ninja, Thompson-Pinder, has helped over 200 entrepreneurs, professionals, speakers, and coaches write and publish their books that have become incredible marketing tools for their business. And many of those have gone on to become Amazon best-selling authors and have used their books to land high-level clients and get on big stages. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit the website at www.authortoauthoritypodcast.com. See you next time.